From mysterious stolen treasure to that one crucial clue that cracks the case, safe deposit boxes have long been a staple in movies and TV shows. A convenient hiding place for valuable or incriminating items, they're an iconic plot device that has been used to create tension and intrigue for decades. In the real world, the contents of the boxes are often much more mundane. They're a popular way for individuals and businesses to store important documents, jewelry, and other valuables. Truly strange and unusual items aren't just reserved for the movies, though. From priceless stolen art and historical artifacts to lost manuscripts and Olympic medals. Some people have even used safe deposit boxes to store the remains of loved ones or the body parts of famous people. Despite their long and storied history and plenty of continued love from Hollywood, if you walk into your bank today and ask to open a safe deposit box, you might get some strange looks. Scores of big banks have scaled back or even completely dropped their deposit box offerings. Household names like JP Chase, HSBC, Barclays, and Capital One have been quietly reducing their provision over the last 15 years, and others are following suit. But what led to this major shift in attitudes? And what makes these products so unappealing to banks in today's world? The safe deposit box has its humble origins in the mind of Francis Jenks, a New York-based businessman in the Civil War era. Jenks came from an upper-class family and was successful in his own right. He would often make trips to Europe, all the while anxious about what might happen to his precious valuables back home. Seeing an opportunity, Jenks was sure other wealthy individuals were just as worried about thefts and burglaries when they traveled, and would be willing to pay for a solution to the problem. He launched his new venture, the Safe Deposit Company of New York, in the heart of Lower Manhattan, with a fortress-like building made of fireproof marble. Inside the basement was an impenetrable vault with thick steel walls, sure to deter any would-be criminals. He offered secure boxes in the vault for customers to store their jewelry, antiques, legal documents, and other valuables. Outside the building, Jenks posted armed guards night and day to keep watch. Ingeniously, he also designed the boxes so that they would need two keys to be opened, one held by the customer and the other by a company employee. These measures helped reassure his well-heeled clientele, and as the Civil War raged on and instability grew, business quickly took off. Celebrities, politicians, and industrialists of the era clamored to get their hands on secure space for their possessions, with some renting out entire rooms for their extensive collections. Having seen Jenks' success in New York, other safe deposit companies sprang up all across the United States. From coast to coast, nearly every city had its own rendition of his idea. These businesses started out as specialized operations, with entire buildings dedicated to storing valuables, but eventually big banks couldn't ignore the opportunity at hand. After all, they already had a long list of trusting customers to sell to. Slowly but surely, a few decades later, almost every bank in the country had a safe deposit offering of its own. In the early 1900s, the economics of safe deposit boxes seemed like a sure thing for banks. At the time, well-to-do individuals stored large portions of their wealth in physical items, precious metals, jewelry, and priceless heirlooms, legal documents like wills and contracts. Even stock ownership was tied to paper certificates. All of these were vulnerable to burglary, but also to unpredictable events like fires and floods. Back then, even the homes of the wealthy had nothing like the fire safety and security systems we take for granted today. So, naturally, the banks thought people would turn to them to keep their valuables safe. But things didn't quite work out that way in the long term. As World War II rolled around, safe deposit boxes were already in jeopardy. Banks were running with their vaults at full capacity and yet still found themselves failing to turn a profit at the end of the year. Part of this was due to the significant investment required to build the vaults and maintain the relevant security infrastructure. As technology advanced, customers began to expect thicker concrete walls, reinforced steel, and increasingly costly 24-hour staffing. Banks would advertise their vaults as being fire, tornado, and even bomb-proof. Vault area became the most expensive type of floor space banks owned, and the revenues they received from safe deposit customers simply didn't cover the immense costs of setting things up. Some banks tried to increase fees, but they quickly found customers were unwilling to pay more for secure storage. The times had changed. Home safes and security systems were now widely available and affordable. When the banks tried to charge higher fees for safe deposit boxes, customers revolted and decided to invest in storage at home instead. Additionally, the other costs of running this part of the business continued to increase. Banks were not just concerned with rising expenses for insurance and staff training, but were also worried about litigation risk. You see, whenever you put money in a U.S. bank, the value is insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC. That means if something happens to the money in your account, you can claim it back from the federal government in a relatively simple process. Safe deposit boxes, on the other hand, are not covered by the FDIC scheme. There's no easy way for a customer to get their money back if something goes wrong. They have to sue the bank and win it back in court. This not only makes deposit boxes less appealing to customers, but the resulting lawsuits represent a real risk and expense for the bank. Despite all these challenges, banks decided to keep running their safe deposit businesses until the turn of the millennium. Though they would typically lose money on the safe deposit boxes themselves, they figured they could make up for it in other ways. First, they believed that the safe deposit boxes would draw in new customers. Even if the bank lost money on the box itself, they could sell other services to the customer and make a profit later. Second, they saw that the boxes had the effect of locking in customers to a specific bank. If a customer physically stored their valuables at a given bank, it made it much more difficult to switch to another bank, as they would have to go through the effort of showing up with the key, filling out forms, and moving their items to the new branch. Overall, instead of shopping around, customers would stick with the same bank, providing profits for the bank on mortgages, loans, and other products. But this cozy setup couldn't last forever. Since the 2008 financial crisis, the price of commercial real estate in American cities has more than doubled. As a result, banks, like everyone else, have found it more and more expensive to operate in urban areas. For the past decade, the number of bank branch closures has doubled every 3 years. According to some estimates, by 2030, the number of branches will have dropped to levels not seen since 1965. And just 5 years after that, they could have disappeared entirely. Not only are banks reducing the number of branches, they're extra conscious of costs in the branches they have left. Vault space, including safe deposit boxes, being the most expensive, is often the first to go. Meanwhile, the world has gone digital. Banks are pushing customers into online-only experiences, trying to streamline operations and prevent them from having to go into a branch at all. Consumers themselves are also turning to digital assets. Stocks are held in apps and online accounts. Contracts are stored electronically. Even money is digital after the rise of crypto. These assets have no need for a secure physical storage facility. Even for those physical assets that are left, safe deposit boxes have shown they're not always safe from intrusion. In March 2021, the FBI executed a seizure of 700 safe deposit boxes at a company in Beverly Hills, California. The items seized included tens of millions of dollars worth of valuables belonging to customers who were not connected to the criminal investigation. Unfortunately, these customers were met with little success in their efforts to retrieve their possessions through legal action. This incident serves as a reminder that while deposit boxes may offer protection from everyday threats, they're not immune to all risks. While traditional offerings have waned in popularity, a new generation of companies has emerged to cater to the needs of the ultra-wealthy. These firms go back to the roots of safe deposit companies and are focused exclusively on providing secure storage for physical assets, using cutting-edge technologies like advanced building materials and biometric scanners. The fees for these services are often steep, but for the ultra-rich, the security and exclusivity they provide are worth the cost. These new secure storage providers position themselves as the premier option for those who are looking for the ultimate protection for their valuables. For the average individual, though, the availability of bank safe deposit boxes has dried up. By some insider accounts, the number of boxes for rent has halved in recent years. This massive decrease has outstripped even the reduced demand from changes in consumer preferences. As a result, there's now a huge shortage of boxes compared to the number of people still seeking them. Some niche providers like regional banks and credit unions still promote safe deposit boxes, seemingly in the hope they'll act as loss leaders and lock-ins like they once did for the big banks. But the supply is vanishingly small, and most people don't have access to accounts with these providers. As a result, in cities all across America, waiting lists have cropped up to rent out safe deposit boxes. If you try your luck in New York City, for example, waiting lists have been known to approach 10 years. So whether you're a criminal mastermind with a stolen Picasso or just trying to store your own family jewelry, these days you might well be better off hiding it under your mattress. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications by tapping the bell icon. That way, you'll never miss any of our future content.